Hello, everyone, and welcome, Dr. Rob Kiltz and Dr. Ken Berry. Really excited to have Dr. Berry with us today. And we're going to be talking about keto and carnivore and inflammation and ways to improve your life and your health and wellness and eliminate diseases like
Well, there's a long list, isn't there, doctor?
it's humongous, Dr. Berry. And what are the diseases you have seen be eliminated with many of the ideas that you've been sharing over these years?
So I've seen type 2 diabetes go completely away, fatty liver go completely away, people with type 1 diabetes be able to have a completely normal hemoglobin A1C while using 80 to 90% less insulin than they were using before. Definitely PCOS gets 95% better or goes completely away. I've seen psoriasis, acne, eczema, rheumatoid arthritis, Sjogren's, multiple autoimmune conditions get anywhere from 80% to 100% better by eating what I consider to be a proper human diet. And but the list, it really does go on and on. Another very common couple are arthritis, osteoarthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, even psoriatic arthritis, markedly improve by removing the slow poisons that big food likes to sell us and including lots of nutrient dense, real whole, one ingredient, proper human foods. And then reflux, GERD, heartburn, indigestion, all these things seem to just magically go away when you stop eating slow poisons and start to include real proper human foods in your diet. But you and I both know it's not magic, it's just physiology.
And I know for me, as a standard American doctor who learned over years of training, diet didn't matter. And I know for myself, I suffered GERD, arthritis, psoriasis, bowel bleeding, kidney stones, and more since I was a kid. How did you come about learning about these changes that have put you at the forefront of sharing some ideas that are opposite of what we have learned?
Well, I, much like you probably were early in my medical career, I thought that I was very well trained. I thought I knew everything that it was important for me to know. And you know as well as I do that all of the big regulatory bodies, ACOG, the AMA, the AAFP, they all give lip service to diet and lifestyle, don't they? At the top of every algorithm, it says, encourage lifestyle and dietary modification. But that's it. That's literally, and so then they go on for hundreds of pages telling you about all the prescription drugs you can use to manage this condition, but they never really dig into the diet and lifestyle. And so the way I happened upon this is I became morbidly obese, pre-diabetic, with a long list of the maladies that we were talking about earlier. And so then I thought, well, I'm eating a lot of junk, And so for the next 3 months, I'm going to tighten up and I'm going to eat exactly what the American Diabetes Association recommends. I'm going to make the recipes they have on their website. I'm going to start jogging 2 or 3 days a week because back then in my journey, that's what I thought I was doing wrong. I was not eating enough whole grains. I was not drinking enough fruit smoothies. I was not including enough healthy carbs in my diet. I was eating too many highly processed white flour carbs. So I eliminated all that. I only ate whole grain. I drank lots of fruit smoothies. I ate lots of fruit and vegetables. And I started jogging. And at the end of that 3-month trial, I had actually become more pre-diabetic and had gained more weight. And that was kind of my epiphany where I said, maybe none of these guys know what the hell they're talking about when it comes to what just a normal human should eat on the average day.
And so we've been sort of brainwashed in a sense, and that I know for me, Gary Taubes, I learned so much from, and what you've shared, you've seen such a change. How do you manage to spark this change in people and get us to make it happen?
Well, I think that the two biggest tools that help people the most is, first of all, to offer them a hope that mainstream medicine doesn't offer them. For example, if you have type 2 diabetes, then that's a chronic progressive disease you're stuck with for life. The only way to manage that is with lip service to diet and lifestyle. But then, here's 3 pills and an injection, and we'll probably have to go up on your dosages as time goes on. We'll monitor this. And so there's no hope in that. You're screwed. Basically, you've got type 2 diabetes for life. Nothing you can do about it. Just take these pills and injections, and we'll try to manage it and keep your hemoglobin A1C as low as we can. But as long as it's under 7, that's great. And then the second thing is convenience, because there are lots of gurus out there who will offer you, if you just sign up for my $299 a month program, or you buy my food package, we'll deliver the food to your house. It's only $500 a month, but your health is worth this. That's not convenient. Nobody wants to do that. Or, you got to meal prep, and spend 8 hours a day meal prepping for the next day or next week. Or you got to, go to the furthest grocery store you can find that happens to have this herb or this spice or this little berry that grows only in the Himalayan mountains. And, you got to do that. And you got to find all these weird esoteric ingredients, or there's no hope. All that's bunk. You don't need any of that. The truth of the matter is it's quite convenient to eat a proper human diet. You just get a big hunk of fatty meat and you put it on the fire for 3 minutes, you turn it over for 3 minutes, and then you eat it. And so I think once people realize, hey, there's hope, I'm not stuck with this. And it's also actually quite convenient and tasty to eat a proper human diet. I think just about everybody who hears that, they're like, sign me up, I'm on board. And then I tell them, there's no sign up. All you got to do is just stop eating this and start eating that. Most people are very excited to give this a try.
So less preparation is really, really helpful, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. You know what my meal prep is? I go to the fridge, I look, I pick out a piece of meat, I put it on the skillet, 3 minutes, then I eat it. That's my meal prep.
And I know you've shared this with so many people out there. I saw you recently with Michaela Peterson, and I know the diseases that have gone away. What's your next step in all this to share more of what you're doing? Lies, My Doctor Told Me, one of the books that I know I read and learned a lot about you and these ideas. Where are you going next?
Well, we just premiered a docuseries called Reversed. And this docuseries follows 4 people with some degree of prediabetes or type 2 diabetes. And both I and Dr. Jason Fung and Maria Emmerich spent a week with these good folks down in Costa Rica. We had to go there, according to the producer, because it's such a beautiful backdrop and scenery. That make it more visually appealing. And, I can't argue. I'm fine to go to Costa Rica for a week because it is a gorgeous place. And so we basically lived with these people for 7 days and 7 nights. We ate with these people. We cooked. We talked about food. We talked about type 2 diabetes. And so this show is basically, hopefully, going to be an offering to the masses with prediabetes and type 2 diabetes to offer them, number one, there's hope. You're not stuck with this for life. And you can actually watch these 4 real people who have real lives and real jobs. These are not biohackers or weird people, who live in the wilderness. These are just regular people with families and jobs and dogs. And you can actually follow their journey as they reverse their own type 2 diabetes and pick up some facts and some tips and some tricks on your own so that you can reverse your own prediabetes or type 2 diabetes.
So the stories are critical. It's the stories.
Yes.
And the more we hear on the stories, it's so important. By the way, I've got a live on YouTube and our Facebook, and also for those that are on Instagram, come on over to the YouTube and Facebook. And where can we find you, Dr. Berry, out there?
Well, I have a YouTube channel. If you just search for Dr. Berry, you'll probably find me. And I've made, probably 400 videos about all kinds of different nutrition and medical and disease topics. So basically, if you just go to YouTube and search in, type Dr. Berry, and then whatever condition you currently suffer from, high blood pressure, diabetes, psoriasis, eczema, acne, reflux, whatever you currently suffer from, just type that in as well. And if I've got videos about that, which I probably do, Doc, then they'll pop up and you can watch them and you can learn a thing or two.
And I know I've learned so much from you and Maria and others, and the YouTube and these videos. There's so much amazing science that we can learn, and I'm constantly watching these things. So many people have come from everywhere. Luz, Tia, Lindsay, and they're sharing their stories, how they suffered, and then it all went away.
Yep.
And the stories are so important. And we're going to be taking some questions here today. Congratulations, Lindsay. But again, let's see. Lindsay talks about pushing water and hydrojugging. What's your thoughts on water intake?
Well, I think that for the last 3 million years, our ancestors have drank water when they were thirsty. And if they weren't thirsty, they didn't drink water. And so I think we should try to mimic that. There are so many health gurus out there that will tell you should drink your body weight in ounces of water a day, or you need to drink at least 8 to 10 glasses of water a day. There is virtually no research that I've ever seen that supports this in any way. The 8 glasses of water a day actually comes from a study that was done back in the 30s or 40s. They were trying to calculate how much water intake the average human drinks a day. And that was the number they came up with, was 8 glasses a day, but that included the water that was in their food. Every piece of food you eat has water in it. And so they were not making a recommendation. They were just doing research to figure out how much water we ingest a day. And they came up with that 8 glasses. But then all of a sudden, this 8 glasses a day became a recommendation based on nothing. And so the anybody who thinks, oh, I've got to drink so many glasses or so many ounces of water, that's busy work. That's what I call that. And lots of gurus like to give you busy work. But I don't like to give you busy work. I just want to tell you the things that you should actually focus your motivation, your time, your energy, and your mental processes on. I want you to focus on what's actually going to get you some results. And you can drink 45 gallons of water a day. It's not going to help you lose 1 ounce more fat. It's not going to in any way improve anything. Dr. Kiltz and I both know that if you drink too much water, you can actually cause electrolyte abnormalities and wind up in the emergency department. It's not healthy to force yourself to drink water when you're not thirsty. So let your thirst be your guide. If you're thirsty, drink water.
So we're built for, let's see, lots of air. So 2 to 3 minutes without air, 2 to 3 days without water, and 2 to 3 weeks without food.
Right. And so exactly what you just said, we've got to have oxygen or we will die, right? Well, what if a huge guru on the internet said, you breathe on average about 18 times a minute, and that's good. But really for optimal health, you need to increase your oxygen intake. You need to start trying to breathe 40 times a minute, every minute of every day. That's dumb. Dr. Kiltz and I both know you would hyperventilate. You'd blow off all your carbon dioxide. You would get tingly fingers, and then you'd pass out. So in the same exact way that telling you to breathe 40 times a minute is dumb, telling you to drink a gallon of water or 2 gallons of water a day is also dumb. It's not necessary. Your body is going to tell you if you need to breathe. You can be very mentally focused on something and not even be thinking about it, and you'll be breathing. Every time you need to breathe, you will breathe. And in the same respect, your brainstem, if you truly need water, your body will push you to the point where you'll drink mud puddle water. If you are truly thirsty enough, you'll drink any water you can get your hands on. So don't believe that you have to breathe 40 times a minute for optimal health. And also don't waste your time and energy and motivation trying to drink a gallon or 3 liters of water a day. That's just dumb advice.
What's your thoughts on how many meals a day we should eat, and how does that improve things if we change it?
Yeah. So one of the main things I used to tell my patients back when I was a young and dumb doctor was you need to eat 3 times a day with meal snacks in between. You need to graze. You don't need to just eat really huge meals. And now, obviously, I completely would love to time travel back in time to 2002 and slap my own head around backwards for giving such idiotic advice. Most people do the best when they eat 1 or 2 big meals a day, when they eat real proper human food until they're comfortably stuffed 1 or 2 times a day. And then that's it. You've hopefully eaten enough protein and fat that you're satiated. You're not going to be hungry for the rest of the day. I think some people can do fine eating 3 meals a day, but to snack in between meals is almost always an emotional thing that you do. You never need to snack for nutrition. You're snacking because you're bored, because you're upset, because it's a habit. You never snack for a good, healthy reason. You eat meals for nutrition when you need them once or twice a day. And if you've eaten enough nutrition, enough vitamins, minerals, amino acids, and fatty acids, then you have no need for snacking. And I know this hurts a lot of my keto friends' feelings because they happen to have a keto bar or a keto shake or a keto powder that they're selling to try to fund, whatever. And that they're like, whoa, dude, stop talking about there's no need to snack. You're hurting my profits. Well, guess what? I'm not here for your profits. I'm here to help everyone have a healthier, happier life. And so I'm going to talk about things that give people that, not that help sell keto shakes and snacks and cookies and pies.
So for my health and wellness, I do that 1 meal a day. It's at night. And it's a habit that I've changed. It's really helped me tremendously. There's always been that talk about you have to fuel your metabolism to keep it going, as if it's not going without eating.
Right.
And so I think that's been one of the most important things, is that fasting is really so important for us to do. We're not a grazing animal. We're more like a hunting animal, like a carnivore. And so tell me a little bit about the carnivore diet that you talk a lot about. And I know you've been doing it for a while now. Tell me how it's supported your health and why you recommend it.
Well, I've been a 97, 98% carnivore for over 2 years now. And it was, for me, the next step in my evolution from a fat, pre-diabetic, miserable doctor to now someone who's very close to my ideal body weight, my ideal body fat percentage. Keto helped a lot of things for me. And I stayed keto for probably 5 or 6 years. And then I still had some heartburn. It was 80% better, but I still had some heartburn. And I still had more body fat than I wanted. And I thought, well, I'm just going to do 30 days of carnivore. I issued a challenge on my Facebook page. I said, hey, guys, let's try this crazy carnivore diet. And at the end of that 30 days, Dr. Kiltz, my heartburn was completely gone. That was the first time in my adult life that I had ever had 30 days with no heartburn, no indigestion, no reflux. And if anybody's ever had severe heartburn, that's a miracle to not have daily severe heartburn. And so I'd lost an additional 5 or 7 pounds that month of carnivore. No, not bone or muscle, but fat. I'd burned off 5 or 7 more pounds of fat, which is wonderful. And I ended the challenge on my Facebook page, but I, in the background, said, you know what? I think I'm going to keep eating carnivore for another month or 2, just until I get tired of it. And then I'll go back to keto. And people they think that carnivore and keto are 2 different things. Carnivore is basically the ultimate keto. Mm-hmm. If you think about carbohydrate intake as a knob, like the volume knob on a stereo. When you go from standard American diet to keto, you turn down your carbohydrate intake a lot, right? But the only difference between keto and carnivore is you just turn it down as close to 0 as you can possibly get it. And that's what a carnivore diet is. It's a diet that's as close to 0 carb as you can possibly get. And so for me personally, and it may not be for everyone, but for me, eating as close to 0 carb as I can each and every day, that's where I feel my best. I have the best energy. I have the lowest body fat percentage now at 52 years of age. I haven't had this low of a body fat percentage since I was in my late 20s.
Amazing.
And so that, how can I argue with that?
What are our requirements for carbohydrates and fiber in the human diet?
Yeah. So even the Institute of Medicine, they admit in their dietary guidelines that there's apparently no need for carbohydrates whatsoever in the human diet. They say that verbatim in the text, but then their official recommendation is, oh, you should eat 120, 130 grams of carbs a day, even though they admit in the text you don't need any at all. And the same goes for fiber. Now, let me say this, if you're eating a standard American diet full of highly processed carbohydrate garbage, you might need some fiber, right, to move that stuff as quickly through your gut as you can. But if you're eating a proper human diet, which is a very low carbohydrate diet filled with lots of fatty animal food, lots of eggs, and maybe some plants, maybe not, there's no need for fiber. You don't need any fiber. And indeed, there are hundreds of thousands of carnivores around the world now who eat a zero fiber diet, and they poop just fine. Their colon's just fine. They actually have less gas than back when they were eating lots of plants and fiber. Their gut problems, and indeed more and more people with Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, and irritable bowel syndrome, they find that their symptoms go completely away when they eat a carnivore diet full of fatty meat and eggs. So you don't need any carbohydrates, definitely. And nobody needs any fiber whatsoever as well.
If you haven't read Fiber Menace, you have to read it. But for me, I had terrible bowel bleeding and bowel problems for years. And I've been doing carnivore-ish for 10 years now, and keto a little more. First it was paleo. It's made me a little bit of a crazy man in this fertility world. But my bowel bleeding went away in like a month. It was like the most amazing thing. And I used to bleed so much, and I would get a colonoscopy every 6 months to prove I didn't have cancer. And so it's really a miracle that I've seen personally how it's changed my life. So tell us a little bit more how we can find what you're doing in this new sharing of how people can change their lives in health and wellness.
So we've got the reversed docuseries, and I'm going to send you a link you can put in the show notes so people can go straight to that. It's a quick sign up, and it doesn't cost you a penny. You can watch all the episodes for free on Your Health Network, and I'll send you a link for that. And then I try to make 3 or 4 YouTube videos each and every week about different topics in nutrition, health, medicine, medications, lifestyle, so that people can basically watch my YouTube videos for free, learn what they need to know, and then immediately, without having to buy anything, they can start to implement those strategies in their life and start to get healthier immediately. And then I've got the book, Lies My Doctor Told Me. If you're having trouble with your doctor, you probably need to read that book. And then you may even need to buy a copy of that book for your doctor. Many people have done that. And now they have a much better relationship with their doctor. Now, sometimes you just need to fire your doctor's ass. And if that's the case, fire your doctor and find a new doctor. But any doctor that you entrust your health to needs to understand the basic concepts in the book, Lies My Doctor Told Me. And I'm also working on 3 new books currently. I'm working on The Proper Human Diet, which hopefully will be out by the holidays, but I don't know. I've got a touch of ADHD, so maybe not. I'm working on a book called Common Sense Labs with my good friend Kim Howerton about what labs you need to ask your doctor to check and why, because many doctors will say, well, why would I check a C-peptide? I wouldn't even know what to do with that. Well, if your doctor says that, then you can say, here, doctor, here's why I need to know this and why you need to know it too. So you can actually help your doctor take better care of you, but also help your doctor take better care of all their other patients. And then I'm working on a book with my good friend Zane Griggs about the turning around your health for a man over the age of 50. It's going to be called something like 50 Ain't Old. And it's the cover is going to be a picture of me and Zane with our shirts off saying, this is what 50 is, brother. If you don't look like this, you need to read this book.
Well, we're really excited about looking at all those. And it's interesting. And I know for you and I finished medical school in 1985. And in order to get the knowledge as a doctor, you had to go to medical school. You had to go to the library. You had no access to this information. And today, you don't have to get into medical school. You have access on the internet. It's for free. You're in charge of your body and your health and wellness. And the more we realize that it's out there, and the patient's I've learned so much that they brought to me
Yep.
to learn about immunology and dietary changes. And for me, it was patients were doing this diet called paleo and getting pregnant. And I'm like, what is this? And
Yep.
that's how I went the next level and learned about keto and then carnivore is
Yep.
they're getting pregnant without me. That means there are no drugs, no surgeries, no IVF, no IUIs. And I'm like, well, wait a minute, that's not supposed to happen.
Yep.
So,
And I'll tell you, Doc, one of the things that woke me up about keto, because I was recommending keto earlier in my practice just as a temporary weight loss hack, right? Because, you eat this, you're going to lose fat, no doubt. But I had a lady who was 48 years old and perimenopausal, and another lady who was 51 years old and very late menopausal, almost finished, right? And they both started keto, and within 6 months, they were both pregnant. And one of them was very happy about that, but the other one was not happy at all about that. And I heard about that for several visits. She was not happy with me for getting her pregnant. And that's when it occurred to me, maybe keto is doing much more in the human body than just helping people burn off fat. Maybe it's adjusting hormones that I didn't realize it had the power to do. And that's when I really started digging deep. And I stopped recommending keto as just a weight loss hack, temporary, just do this and lose the weight. I started recommending it for lots of other medical problems, including infertility. And I know you've got a diet that you teach your ladies about, the baby diet, which is basically carnivore. I mean, it's definitely keto, but virtually carnivore as well. And I agree with you. I think if somebody is having trouble with fertility, if you're not eating a proper human diet, that is contributing at least to some degree to your infertility issues. And so I love it that you're 100% on board with a proper human diet. And I have found multiple other fertility specialists around the country who are reaching out to me and saying, I'm not actually calling it keto or carnivore. I'm just basically telling women to eat lots of fatty meat. And this is bumping my success percentage way up. Is this safe to do long-term? Asking me as a family doctor, their fertility, they're worried about, the blood pressure and the cholesterol and all that stuff. And I'm like, dude, there is no diet healthier than this. Go and get all your patients pregnant and let them live their best life.
One of the important things is to stay as keto carnivore as you can. And again, these are just labels technically.
Right.
And so many people just do fasting and add some fat. That's all it takes.
Yep.
The birth control pill came from a plant, and plants contain phytoestrogens, androgens, and progestins, which cause fertility issues. And so I've always called infertility the canary in the coal mine. So essentially, I'm healthy, but I'm infertile. I have no medical problems, but I'm infertile. Infertility is the foundation of life. Fertility is. And so when you're infertile, you have a disorder. The disorder is inflammation. The inflammation is caused by a healthy lifestyle, standard American diet, hands down. And by simply making these simple changes that we see so much success. And whether it's natural, because really we're supporting natural first, natural health and wellness, that you don't need a pill, a shot, a surgery for your fertility or anything else in your life. So that's really an amazing sharing of something that doesn't require a doctor to get a prescription or learn how to do things.
Yep.
I
totally agree.
Let's see, Dr. Berry, have you ever seen anyone eating keto and develop dairy and egg allergies? I've been keto since 2019, and since February 21, I can no longer tolerate dairy and struggle with eggs sometimes too. This is Meg DeGrave. Can you answer that for us?
I've never seen that happen, Meg. I suspect that you were eating dairy and eggs years before you started a ketogenic diet. So I don't think there's anything magical when you just lowered your carbohydrate intake that made you allergic to eggs and dairy. There's probably something else going on in the background that you just haven't discovered yet. Some people react to the proteins in the whites of eggs, but I've never seen a single human be allergic to the yolk of an egg. And then I'm not a big fan of liquid dairy at all. More and more, the only dairy I ingest is butter and ghee, because that's just the fat of the dairy. It takes out the lactose, which is pure sugar, but it also takes out the proteins in dairy, especially liquid dairy, which appear to be quite inflammatory to a lot of people. And so I would encourage you, if you think that drinking milk, even raw milk, is healthy, I would say, why don't you try a month of eliminating all dairy except for butter and ghee? I think you'll find that your health improves and you're 100% not going to be allergic to butter or ghee.
And it could be what those animals are eating, the chicken's eating, that brings upon some of those antigens, because lectins, oxalates, phytates, and other proteinaceous particles that are micronized and get into the egg or the milk. And ultimately, milk is for babies, not for adults anyway. The luxury of ice cream or butter or cheese is that man-made product, really. If you look at water, salt, and meat, organ meat, bone marrow, which is minimally cooked, and for me, it's always black and blue or raw even in some of these, that probably reduces a lot of those antigens that cause the allergies for sure. Martha has a question about positive for ANA antibody. Well, let's see. Tell me a little bit about arthritis and those sort of things, and how this dietary changes affects those things.
So the majority of autoimmune conditions and arthritis are caused by chronic inappropriate inflammation. Now, if you sprain your ankle, you want to have acute inflammation. That's what's going to help your ankle heal. You want your ankle to swell up and get red and get hot and to be painful. Those are the 4 cardinal signs of productive acute inflammation. But if what you're suffering from is chronic inappropriate inflammation, it's going to manifest itself either by confusing your immune system and making it attack parts of you that it shouldn't be attacking, or through eating too many carbohydrates, you're going to be glycating proteins and cell membranes and causing inappropriate inflammation. And one place this can show up is in the joints with arthritis. Another place it can show up is in the skin with psoriasis, acne, eczema, all these different skin inflammations. Another place it can show up is in the gut with irritable bowel syndrome, rectal bleeding, Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis. All these things are caused by the chronic inappropriate inflammation of eating improper foods that big food manufacturers love to sell to you because they're cheap. And they always contain sugar, grains, and vegetable seed oils. No matter if it's a pizza crust or it's a tortilla or it's a jelly donut, it's always going to have those 3 ingredients. And you may think, why is big food so in love with these 3 ingredients? And it's because that's where they make the highest percentage markup profit. It's not because whole grains are in any way healthy for you. So you got to calm down the chronic inappropriate inflammation in your body. Then your immune system has a chance to calm down and get smarter and become more judicious in whether it's attacking this protein, which is part of you, or this protein, which is foreign, and it should attack.
What about almond flour, coconut flour, all the other substitute flours? What's your thoughts on those?
I think they're markedly less bad than flour made from wheat, rice, oats, and corn. I think they're much less bad. But I don't think that human beings are going to reach their optimal health by eating any highly processed grain, seed, or nut. A lot of people use almond flour as kind of a temporary crutch when they're first starting keto. And I think for some people, that's probably a good use for that temporarily. But in the long term, once you've gotten to where you want to be with your health, I don't think there's any need whatsoever for any flours or meals whatsoever made out of anything, including keto-friendly nuts.
So I believe that we're all going to reward ourselves from time to time. What we want to do is minimize the all the time, because I think that's the real risk, unless you're significantly allergic to something like a peanut or avocado or a banana, or something that gets that acute systemic inflammation that could kill us.
Yep.
My sense to all these diseases that they're all allergic reactions, but we don't see the outward expression of the swelling, the pain, the heat, and the redness.
Exactly.
And so that's such an important thing for us to realize. And the Occam's razor and the concept and ideas that you've been sharing, it's so simple. It's like, this isn't rocket science. Simplicity is the way. What's the name of the new show you're promoting, and a couple of your books, and your website again?
It's called Reversed, and there's 8 or 9 episodes that follow these 4 people along their journey of reversing type 2 diabetes. And then my book, Lies My Doctor Told Me, is the only one that's out now, but we've got 3 more coming in the months ahead. Be watching for those. And then very busy on YouTube, trying to help people achieve their best health, their optimal health, both mental health and physical health. I'm working on a video right now about depression. I'm working on a sarcastic video about how to take over the world with food. That ought to be fun to watch. I'm working on a video about hemoglobin A1C right now. So I've got these things. It drives Nisha, my wife, crazy, but I've got legal pads literally stacked up with every time I have a video idea, I'll write it down. And then I'll start looking for the research to try to help people understand this is what you should do and this is what you should not do.
So tell me about ADHD and our mental depressions and those sort of things, and how this diet may be helpful. I know I've suffered from dyslexia, depression, ADHD. Now, I don't use the word suffer because I think those are all actually valuable traits that you have in life
Totally
to push
agree.
you to where you are.
Yep.
But we talk about them differently, or the medical establishment talks about them. Can you give us a little bit of your insight?
Yeah. So I definitely have ADHD. I've had it since I was definitely in kindergarten. I used to drive my poor teachers insane. My kindergarten teacher, Miss Mylan, I do hope she achieves sainthood for putting up with my ass for a full academic year. I agree with you. I don't think ADHD is a disease. It was made a disease by the same pharmaceutical companies who are going to sell Ritalin to everybody with this new disease. The way the American Psychiatric Association, the way they decided that ADHD was a disease, people think, oh, they did lots of research, controlled research, and they proved it. No, a bunch of old white-haired men got in a room and they voted. And if you doubt me, look into it. That's exactly how ADHD became a disease. And a lot of them were funded by the company that sold Ritalin. I don't think ADHD is a disease. I think it is an alternative way of looking at life. Evolution and nature are very smart. And so they'll give us a distribution curve. Some people are they're way over here when it comes to attention span. Some people are way over here. These people should look for different ways to make a living, different ways to live their life. And I basically structured my life around my ADHD, which I know you've probably done as well. And I use it as a superpower. And so, no, I can never just sit down and work on one project for 6 hours. I would go literally insane. But I can work on 12 projects and flip from one to the other and do really good, highly productive work for a few minutes on this project. Then I'll go to that project. And that's why I said the Proper Human Diet will be out when it gets out, because that's how I'm working on it, along with all these other legal pads laying around here. So I have seen people with severe disabling depression completely reverse it back to where it's seemingly they have no depression at all by eating a proper human diet. I've seen the same for OCD. I've seen the same for ADHD. I've seen the same for anxiety, all the different anxiety disorders, from social to general to specific situation anxiety. I've seen all these people be able to reverse that. And I'm not talking about 5 or 10 or 20 people. I'm talking about thousands of people, some of which they were actually on legal disability because of their depression. And their depression is so much better now, so much less severe from eating a proper human diet. They're actually they canceled their disability and got a job. They now actually have a career that they enjoy, and they're able to do that because their mental health is so much better from eating a proper human diet.
The interesting part of the story is that plants are the predators and we're the prey. They've controlled us. and they do in a miracle way. And all the drugs that intoxicate us or drive us to be an addict are all it's all plant-based. And so it is an absolute fact that the plants are really the cause of that, because they're phytochemicals, they're antigens, and they're sugars and more. If you, I've learned from Georgia Eads, who's a psychiatrist, has really shared the same concept and idea. And when people are talking about carnivore and they're MDs, it's as if they're just like they've gone mad. And what are you doing? Because there's so much research that meat, especially red meat, causes every disease we know about, and cholesterol causes heart disease. And so how do we continue to make the change? And I'm just so grateful for what you've been doing, and Nisha and Maria and more, because the village is getting stronger in social media, because before you had to try to get a paper published by the professional organizations who basically, it's all about the pharmaceuticals. It's about the mission of building medicine bigger. It's all going corporate. And I'm still thankfully independent, but there's pressure out there in so many ways that so many doctors don't have the freedom to share the story. Or most doctors, I have residents and medical students with me when I'm in surgery and things like that. And these stories, they kind of look at you like you're an idiot and you just don't know. And it just doesn't make sense, doctor, because that's not what the experts tell us.
Yep.
And so it's a little crazy. All right. So let's see. Andrea Arias, Dr. Berry and Dr. Kiltz, what do you think about IgG and IgA blood tests to determine if you have food intolerance?
Yeah.
Can you answer that for us?
These testing for food intolerances is a complete and utter waste of your money. And it is going to redirect you to eating foods that are perhaps not healthy for you at all. Basically, all the IgG antibody tells you is that you've eaten that food sometime in the past. Anytime any food is a potential antigen, and your immune system is constantly monitoring every piece of food you put in your mouth. And it's going to mount some degree of an immune response to every piece of food you eat. That does not mean you're allergic to that food. So if you have an elevated IgG or to a food, that in no way implies that you are allergic or intolerant to it. What it really tells you is that you've eaten that in the past. That's all it tells you. And so this is one of my main problems with naturopathic physicians, because they're the ones who really love the food intolerance testing. It's dumb. It is a waste of your money. It's very expensive. It's not going to give you any useful information. There is a spectrum of food that human beings should eat. And we know this spectrum of food by studying paleoanthropology and looking at ancient cultures of human beings more than 15,000 years ago. That's the diet you should be eating. And I'll give you a hint. It's filled with lots of fatty meat, plus or minus some veg, if you like it and you do well with it.
It's interesting because it wasn't until fire and cooking were we able to eat vegetables of any significance. In grass and grains, no way, until we had that change. So raw diet of the plants I call a starvation diet. You only eat that because you couldn't get the meat, which was how we as a Aboriginal indigenous people of the world were hunters, and we were nomadic. It was domestication of the plants and the people that led to this significant rise in all of these diseases that we suffer from. That the last I looked, healthcare costs are constantly going up. The access is going down. Affordability is going down. And I know that my mission is to maintain affordability, access, and quality, and to share a story free of charge that you can learn, and even nominally to buy my books and ideas that will help give you your health and wellness and be the game changer. So what test do I need, if any, to get a marker of my health and wellness? See, I'm 65 and I take no drugs. I did have some hernia surgery recently to take care of a hernia problems that have been going on for 15, 20 years. I finally got like, okay, let me just take care of this. But are there some tests out there that you recommend?
Yeah, definitely. If you have metabolic syndrome, or if you have prediabetes or type 2 diabetes or type 1 diabetes or any hypertension, then you definitely want to get your hemoglobin A1C checked once or twice or thrice a year. You want to get a C-peptide checked. The C-peptide will make sure your pancreas is making insulin, but it then also will tell you if your pancreas is having to make too much insulin because you are eating too many carbohydrates. Fasting insulin is another great way to look at that. All of the markers of inflammation. We want to make sure your liver and your kidneys are functioning properly. We also want to make sure your adrenal glands and your testicles and your ovaries are functioning properly. There are tests for that. Another very important gland that you should get tested if you have any degree of symptoms is your thyroid gland. Indirectly, we can check your pituitary gland and its function. There are lots of tests, but I want everybody to understand, if you're eating a proper human diet, you don't actually need to do any of these tests. But if you're coming from a place of chronic illness, if you're coming from just the standard American stupid crap diet, you may need these tests for a while in order to track your journey from illness back to optimal health. And I think they're wonderful for that. Food insensitivity or intolerance testing plays no role in that whatsoever. But a lot of these tests are meaningful and worthwhile, and I'm going to include all those tests in the book, Common Sense Labs, when it's available for publication.
So, Curtis, let's see, Dr. Berry, Dr. Kiltz, probably a silly question. Diagnosed with ulcerative colitis at age 17. Time I was 19, I had over 30 abdominal surgeries, sadly. Lost almost all of my colon, rectum, most of my large intestines. The reason I am infertile is because I have blocked tubes due to the scar tissue endometriosis. I also have lost my gallbladder. In your opinion, what diet do you think is best to help that situation? And also, is there any science that backs it up?
Yeah, Curtis, man, you've been through the ringer. So there are definite bonuses and benefits and proper places for modern medicine. And Dr. Kilt's example of getting his hernia repaired, that's something that modern medicine is very good at. He had a traumatic injury. He got it fixed. Now he's better. But what your doctors, Curtis, were trying to do all these years, they were trying to treat a chronic condition that was caused by your diet. They were trying to treat that with surgery. And you had 30 surgeries on your abdomen. And Dr. Kiltz will tell you, anytime you have any kind of surgery, there's going to be scar tissue. There's going to be inflammation and scar tissue during the healing process. That's just how the human body heals. And the abdomen is the classic place in the human body to get inappropriate adhesions, which are basically your body going crazy with the scar tissue and sticking stuff together that shouldn't be stuck together. And abdominal surgery is one of the many things that can be a risk factor for increasing your risk of infertility. And sometimes both endometriosis and inappropriate abdominal surgery can cause scar tissue that can block the fallopian tubes, right? And so, I mean, you're in a bind if you want to get pregnant. You're definitely going to have to see a fertility specialist like Dr. Kiltz, because your abdomen has been mutilated so many times that now you don't have a normal gastrointestinal system anymore. It's been mutilated, and you may not even have a normal genitourinary system anymore. It's been mutilated as well. So you're going to have medical science step in and probably help you conceive. It's not fair. It's not your fault, but it now is your problem. And so you're going to need the help of somebody like Dr. Kiltz probably to conceive. What do you think, Doc?
So damaged tubes, damaged pelvis, damaged bowels, inflammation, which is all due to the diet we've been taught as healthy. And IVF is likely what this person needs for sure. Yep. So in your one sentence, the human diet for health and wellness, what is it today? What should we be doing?
And so even though she's been through all that torture for all these years, she still needs to eat a proper human diet, because she still is, in fact, a human being. And so she's going to benefit in hundreds of ways from eating a proper human diet. And the way I define a proper human diet is that it's as sugar-free as you can possibly get it. It is completely grain-free. There's no grains in a proper human diet. Grains are great if you're starving to death, but if what you're trying to do is optimize your health, grains play no role in that. A proper human diet eliminates all of the vegetable seed oils. And in some of us, it's even probably going to eliminate the fruit seed oils like avocado, olive, and coconut oil. It's just going to be animal fats for many of us. Then a proper human diet is going to include lots of fatty meat, whether it's seafood, red meat, poultry with the skin on, or other monogastric animals. And it's going to involve some degree of intermittent fasting where you're not eating 3 times a day with snacks in between. You're eating 1 or 2 meals a day, as much as you can eat during those 1 or 2 meals. And then you're walking away from the table. You're not thinking about food. You're going out and living your life and having fun and being productive. That's a proper human diet.
The food used to be scarce. So your thoughts on food were always there because you had to do the work to find it. We're just idiots. If the brain didn't say go find food. Today, the brain still doesn't know there's food available tomorrow. So it's going to continue to do everything it can to continue to get the food because it's concerned of the famine that's coming next. And so the truth is, instinctually, eating and being hungry all the time is normal, and getting fat is actually normal because that's how you survived the famines. And so I talk about obesity, and my theory is that obesity isn't the cause of disease. It's the food you eat that actually causes the damage to your body. And by changing to the human diet, the real lifestyle, which is mostly a high fatty meat diet, you'll turn all the things around before you lose even 10 pounds.
Yep. And what you allude to is exactly right. If you're starving, right? And so if you're trapped in someone's barn or you fell to the bottom of the well, if there's sugar there and you're in danger of starving, you should eat all the sugar. If there's grains, you should eat all the grains. If there's canola oil, you should drink the whole bottle. You're in danger of starving to death. And so the sugar, grains, and seed oils, they are great foods to keep you from starving to death if you're on the verge of starvation. And that's why we feed that same exact diet to prisoners, because it's super cheap and it will keep them from starving. That's why emperors and dictators feed that to their subjects, because it's super cheap and nobody will starve to death, and they'll have a full belly and they'll think they're happy. But if your goal is not just to fight off starvation, if your goal is to have optimal, vibrant, vigorous health, sugar, grains, and seed oils don't play any part in your diet. They are starvation foods. They're prisoner foods. You don't want to be eating prisoner food if what you're trying to do is reverse chronic disease and optimize your health in this one life that you're living.
The optimal human diet: 1 meal a day, in general, maybe 2, high fatty meat, and eliminate all the industrial products that require an industrial company in order to process them. Is that what you're saying?
That's basically it in a nutshell. And eat plenty of salt. Make sure you're getting all the vitamins and minerals. If you're not sure what food has a particular vitamin or mineral, I probably have a YouTube video about the top 7 foods that are rich in iodine or biotin or vitamin D. I probably got a YouTube video that'll quickly tell you, oh, that's the foods I need to eat for vitamin D or iodine or whatever. Then you know, and then you just include those natural, proper human foods in your diet, and you get those vitamins without having to waste money on a supplement.
One other question, if I may, from April. Let's see. Hello, doctors. Cystic fibrosis, 30-year-old and diabetic. However, A1C is 5.1, keto for 3 years and haven't needed insulin or meds due to keto diet. My AMH is 10 and PCOS, suffer from elevated liver enzymes, have a hard time digesting fat due to CF and being on pancreatic enzymes. Do you have any advice? I feel like I'm at a loss. She wants to optimize her health for CNY, IVF.
Yep. So having CF and taking pancreatic enzymes, it should in no way hamper your ability to absorb and utilize and digest fat. Your doctor may have told you that, but I'm having trouble understanding any physiology that would make that true. It sounds like you've completely reversed your type 2 diabetes. You've got an A1C of 5.1. So that definitely is going to make you more likely to be able to conceive, to be more fertile. If your liver enzymes are still elevated, but you've reversed your type 2 diabetes, then you probably need further investigation as to what's going on with elevated liver enzymes. There are more things that can elevate your liver enzymes than diet alone. And so you want to make sure that's thoroughly investigated. Anything else you'd add to that, Doc, about the PCOS or anything else?
Well, the label keto, what does keto mean? And what are you doing to be keto? And my sense is you still may be consuming something that is toxic to your liver cells. And that's, I mean, mushrooms, liver damage all day long. And there are many things that we may be consuming that cause that. A high AMH is indicative of metabolic syndrome, prediabetes, PCOS. You may not have a higher hemoglobin A1C or evidence that you need any drugs for diabetes. My sense is that even the A1C is an incorrect test, because if you never ate any sugar for millions of years and had that one meal a day and was only meat, what was your glucose level? It's far lower than we have today anyway. So my bet is it's still look at the optimal human diet that Dr. Ken Berry has been sharing. That's the way. And I believe that even CF has a lot of improvement by going this diet, because you're reducing glycation and all the damage from all of the healthiest lifestyle we've been taught for, I don't know, thousands of years. And I like your phrase about the prisoner diet, because ultimately we're all been prisoners in this health and wellness craze that is teaching us a lie. And I think that this, in your book, Lies My Doctor Told Me, it's that we continue to share this lie. And we're so excited about your reverse. What's the name of the new show again?
Reversed. Yep. Reversed, a docuseries about using the ketogenic diet and intermittent fasting to reverse type 2 diabetes. And I've got a 15-minute clip of the docuseries on my YouTube channel. And in the show notes of that 15-minute clip is a link that you can click to go straight to the series. You have to sign up for Your Health Network, but it doesn't ask for anything weird, and it's completely free to watch the entire docuseries on Your Health Network.
Well, Ken, Dr. Berry, thank you so much for sharing with us today. You're an inspiration to all of us in sharing the optimal human diet. And we're going to put links to Dr. Berry, his website, and his new video series on optimizing your human wellness. So God bless everyone. Thank you so much for joining. We were on Instagram, but you got to go over to YouTube and Facebook to get more. So God bless everyone. And thank you so much. Thanks, Ken.
Thanks a lot, Doc.